Father Michael Orsi. I'm your host for Action for Life Television, that good news program which talks about the big G, the gospel of Jesus Christ, and little g, all the good things that people do to put that gospel of life into action. Well, that's the word for the day, action. At the end of each show, you know that I usually say, I'm for action, and I hope that you are too. Well, today we have a man of action on our program. His name is Ed Daccarett, and Ed is the producer of Christian Action News, and the founder of Life Can. Now, I'm going to ask Ed to tell us about his news show, Christian Action News, and then about Life Can, because this is an extremely interesting program because it's not just blah, 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 blah. It's really putting the gospel into action, but in a way that might be a little bit unusual, using billboards. And I've had the pleasure, and maybe later on in the program, we're going to show you some of the beautiful artwork that is used to talk to people about right to life and to help people to see that there is an alternative to abortion. And the genius behind this is Ed. So Ed, welcome. Nice to have you with us today.
Delighted to be here, Father, and to share with you, some of the work that we do. And, Father, you say action, and it's one of the reasons why we started publishing Christian Action News 23 years ago. And, Father, it's really interesting. We set out then that we would not charge a subscription fee, and for 23 years we have not, and God has seen to provide sponsors and supporters. We don't take any ads. We don't run ads. And the bottom line is action is the middle name. And
so
that's
this is free. And later on we'll put on a way in which our viewers can see how they can procure your newsletter for free. And
yes,
I can't believe free, but okay. And God's providing the funds. Keep going.
Yeah,
that's great.
It's a full-color newspaper published once a month, sent out free. And, Father, what it gets into what is expected of you and I, a citizen of this world, a child of this world. We were not created just to eat, drink, and be merry. We were created for a purpose, especially in this time and in this age. Father Lee, I forgot his last name, would say, God could have created us 100 years ago or 100 years from now, but he chose to create us now. This is our time.
So you're a man of action, and you're putting your faith into action. And that's very important because, as we know, faith without works is empty.
It's dead. Oh, absolutely. And Father, throughout the newsletter, I keep, there is a day of accounting. There's a day of judgment, and God is going to ask you. For instance, I know he's going to ask, what were you doing when they were killing my children? It's a really very serious question. And we're all going to have to answer that. Were you too busy? Did you not care? Whatever the response is, I just caution our readers. One of the things, Father, that I really want to highlight, because I know time is going to run away from us, and that is one of the highlights of this newsletter that we do every month is update our readers on the major corporations and what they support, such as Planned Parenthood, or whether it be the homosexual agenda, whether it's transgenderism, whatever it is. And we don't hold anything back, whether it be Walmart, Home Depot, Target, Disney, Amazon. We expose whatever they're supporting. And these large have deep pockets, and so And I had a chat this week, Father, with one of our volunteers was telling me that she cannot help but shop at Amazon. And I says, oh, really? I says, I don't shop on Amazon, you know? I don't envy Jeff Bezos, but Jeff Bezos made $173 billion profit in the first 6 months of this year.
I heard in the last couple of days he made 13 billion. I mean, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. But you know, I want to ask you something. You have a list then of these large corporations that are supporting an anti-Christian agenda.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
quite honestly, a guy like me, a lot of times I don't know that. I'll give you an example. A number of years ago, I was going over to Starbucks for coffee. I just wanted coffee. I had no idea that they had another agenda. Then I find out they're big supporters of Planned Parenthood. So I went someplace else for coffee. So, a list like this, folks, can really make a difference insofar as, you're going to know who the good guys are and who the bad guys are.
That's right. And there are good guys. For instance, Father, many people are not aware that Target stores allow men in women's restrooms and women changing rooms. And there have been a number of arrests that have been made of peeping Toms that go in and photograph women changing, trying on dresses and what have you. And still to this day, this is about 3 years, 4 years into this, they still allowing men into, not transgender men, but actual men. You and I can walk into a Target store, go into the women's restroom or the women's changing room, and no issue at all. No issue at all.
You're not just interested in talking about abortion, but you're talking about some of the major issues that are confronting Christians today in a society that has become more and more secularized.
Right.
I'll use a better word. It's paganized.
Exactly. For instance, Father, I do not search on Google. Google, as I said, shared with the same volunteer, I says, I don't search on Google. Google has gone from being a noun to now a verb. Are you Googling? Will you Google that for me? So I just read today that Google has 91, almost 92% of all search engines. They're way, way too big. They need to be broken up. Like Marbell was broken up, Google is way too big. The closest thing to Google is Yahoo at 2.7 of the search engine. So I use 3, 4 other search engines before I get to, and I only go on Google if I can't find it anywhere else.
Okay, so you make people aware of these various corporations that are undermining a Christian society.
Correct.
Okay, and you get the newsletter out, and what kind of a response do you get? Do people get in touch with you and say, "Hey, thank you. I didn't know that. Here's a donation. Keep up the good work"? How do you know if you're reaching people and if you're successful in your message?
I guess, Father, we get so many notes. It really is encouraging, and yes, so many positive notes. There is a time, for instance, times like this, heading into an election, where we would get people that, take us off your mailing list, because we will expose candidates for what they stand on, and what God expects a Christian to do, the due diligence. We cannot saunter into a voting booth without checking where the candidates stand.
Well, how does this affect your tax-exempt status? Well, 501(c)(3). Did I bother you about that?
Very good question, Father. As long as we don't tell people who to vote for, we can tell them how to vote.
So in other words, you can say, you should vote for a pro-life candidate, but you can't say vote for this specific person.
Right.
And now you see, I want the folks to pay attention to that. Pastors, sometimes they shy away from the issues. You can discuss the issues. Just don't name a specific candidate. And you know what? Right. From my studies, they don't even bother anybody when they do that. I think one church has been prosecuted over the last 50 or something years, and it's because they had a billboard up that said, "Don't vote for Bill Clinton," and that was in 1992, and they received that exempt status back within 2 months. So I think we have a toothless tiger, and
Yes.
under the present administration, they're really not paying that much of attention to the Johnson Amendment, so-called Johnson Amendment. So so folks, tell your pastors, speak to the issues. Speak to the issues. Those issues are guiding our American life. They're guiding our youth. And you know what? They're responsible for the quality of life and life itself in this country. And I'm sorry, but I just get so wound up about this. What you're doing is so wonderful. Could you tell us now about, you have this program, Life Can. And I've been looking through the material presented to me by our producer, and you have some beautiful, beautiful billboards. Tell our folks about the Billboard program.
Yeah. And Father, I thank you for that. And we do have, there are about 3 or 4 other states and an organization that have billboards, but through the grace of God, Father, I take no credit. Through the grace of God, He's provided us with some graphic artists and with a lot of research into how you get into the mind of a woman facing a crisis pregnancy, a woman who's abortion-minded.
Folks, pay attention to this, because this is the power of these billboards and advertising on buses and taxi stands. How do you get into the mind of a woman who is contemplating an abortion? This is fantastic. This is psychology 101. So Ed, please.
Right. And I tell you, I almost lost a friend, Father, because she was trying to convey to me that the woman sees, and research has proven, over $2 million worth of research, not that we've done it, Vitae Foundation has done this. The woman sees that child as a parasite. The woman sees this, the child is an enemy. So we try not to put that child there because we want to reach her. She is most critical in saving this child. And so, and again, I say through the grace of God. But Father, I'd like to back up a little bit and tell you how this all got started.
Yeah, please. I mean, this is interesting. I mean, in a million years, I wouldn't think of, billboard advertising. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
So, Father, having been involved then, I'm dating myself, but, having been involved then for about maybe 2 decades in the pro-life arena, it really bothered me, with all the efforts put on by, all the different pro-life organizations, that the majority of people in the street, John Q. Public, was really pretty much ignorant on this issue. And it really bothered me for months. And I was laying in bed one night, Father, at about 2 o'clock, and I got a response, not audibly, but I just got an insight, because we keep doing the same thing. We keep having pro-life events at churches and private schools and so on and so forth, but we're not getting the word on the street. The man in the street has not seen this. And so I says, oh, really? Okay, so that's it. So it came to Genesis for these billboards. I hate to tell you, Father, 21 years later, the man in the street, John Q. Public, is still as ignorant, and what I would say, conveniently ignorant. He wants to be ignorant so he has no responsibility, But I tell you what is happening, Father. These billboards, and not just ours, wherever there's a witness for life, these bills are convicting people. And, Father, when I go to the abortion mill and people get disappointed because they didn't see a turnaround, I said, don't you worry. You've been here. You've been faithful. God is going to bring a result to this, even if you don't see it or know it, So even if someone goes and have an abortion, Father, we planted a seed that will bring result, will bring conversion.
As you can imagine, producing this wonderful program, Action for Life, it costs a great deal of money. We're going to need your help. So if you would like to donate to keep this good news program on the air, please go to your computer, your cell phone, actionforlife.net. Thought for the day. Our country is going through a tumultuous time. Many people are questioning the very foundations upon which this country has been built. One of the foundations that people are often forgetting is that this country was built on biblical principles, on justice and righteousness, and also upon charity. So much so that our founders had engraved on top of the rotunda of our Capitol in Washington the words of the prophet Micah. Remember, man, do what is right, love justice, and walk humbly with your God. Hey, let's talk about planting the seed. So you get this insight. Holy Spirit moved you at 2 o'clock in the morning, and you say, "Yeah, we have to do a little more visual. We have to be present in a very creative way." All right now. I see billboards, all over the place, advertising everything, and I often wondered, how powerful they are insofar as getting the message out. And I guess they are, because they're very expensive to put one up. So where do you get the money to do this?
Father, I laugh because it's amazing. If I told you that we have over 1,050 public square. These are all ads in the public square. And then on top of that, we have five online ads on Google. Now, I said to you about Google being, and I don't search Google, but we have to go where the people are, where those 18 and 34 individuals are.
That's right.
That being targeted by the. And so and I just want to mention, Father, that we have the 5 Google AdWords are a pregnancy outreach. We have a Black genocide campaign, again, reaching out to Blacks because they have the highest abortion rate in the nation. They're being targeted. We have another one to target, it's Real Men, because men, 64% of all abortions are coerced by men. We have the pill reversal because with the abortion doctors, I don't call them doctors, with the abortionists retiring, dying, and going to jail, pill reversals are really increasing. Chemical abortions are increasing. So, and the pill reversal site is getting the most conversions. And then we have an Hispanic outreach. Again, the second highest abortion rate are amongst Hispanics.
Yeah, the information you're giving us is really, it's invaluable. But you said something that I want to reemphasize again to our folks at home viewing our program. Ed brought up the issue regarding the large number of Black babies being aborted. This is a fact, and these are the numbers. The Black population makes up 12% of our American society. Right. And yet, 38% of abortions are being performed to eliminate Black babies. Right. So I think the Black community has some very serious thinking to do regarding Planned Parenthood and regarding those people that they think that are on their side when it comes to government. They're not. They're not. Do you hear me? Black mommies and daddies, those politicians that you think are your friends, they're not.
They're really not. No, you're absolutely right, Father, and your statistics are right too. But I tell you, Father, you know what? I went to confession the other day, and before confession on first Saturday, the priest gave a really encouraging homily, and I said after confession, I said, Father, the Bible says where sin abounds, grace abounds all the more. So I told him, I said, Father, I'm really, this is a grace-filled period that we're living in, with this COVID thing and all these riots in the street. It's a grace-filled period. I tell you, Father, and I know you've probably seen this, there is a lot of chatter now on these Black abortion. It's coming to the surface with Black Lives Matter and stuff. And even though Black Lives Matter do not want to have anything to do with the abortion issue and the Black genocide, but it's bubbling up to the surface. Kanye West admitted just over the weekend that his father wanted him to be aborted, and his mother said no. And Kanye West said he also almost aborted his daughter, but Kim Kardashian says no, and she stood up. And so all of this is bubbling up to the surface, Father, and this is so good. It's so good. It's shedding light.
Yeah, let's talk about the billboards and the taxi stand posters, and you advertise on buses. Okay. First of all, as we talked about, you need a lot of money to do this. It's not cheap. And God has provided people that have been generous to you. You then have people who design, and they're beautiful. I mean, they catch people's attention. Okay, and they're very well done. Now, folks, we're going to show you some. Our producer will make sure that you have some pictures later on in the program. However, you mentioned some numbers, and I thought they were very important. You said for every million views, there are about 1,500 people that get the message. How does that work? You talked about you have to show something a number of times before it will make an impression on somebody.
Yeah. You know, Father, and that's the well, not the secret, but that's the thing of, you know, Hitler says you tell a lie often enough and people will believe it, you know. So it's the same thing, repetition. And, you know, Father, I can tell you a story. Let me give you a conversion story. I met this person personally. She is a Russian immigrant, had 2 abortions, solidly pro-choice. I don't say pro-choice, but pro-abortion, solidly pro-abortion. She ran into one of her billboards, the one that says 18 days heartbeat, and it really struck her. And she thought, wow, if that's the case, you know what she's doing right now, Father? You would never believe this. She is now an executive director in a pregnancy resource center and running the ultrasound tests for the young women that come in.
Do you hear that? Talk about conversion. You got to, in order for people to learn, for people to get the message, you have to repeat it over and over and over again. So sometimes I'm going down 75 and you see a billboard. Boom, boom. How many times do I pass the billboard and I guess my mind is picking it up and I remember, oh yeah, I saw that. I know what that is. I know where I could buy a refrigerator or a washing machine and it stays in your mind. So this is fantastic what you're doing. Now, how do you get the sites? So in other words, you want to put the billboard up. Do you go to a company and you say to the company, hey, I want to buy that and rent a spot? And are they happy to see you?
Yeah. You know, Father, I must tell you, I myself, I'm amazed sometimes at the project, seriously. But, you know, I think I don't claim anything, Father. It's God. It's God's work, and he works through the most broken of vessels, honestly, Father. But so in answer to that question, we go to the billboard companies, and they have really been good to us. And over 21 years, Father, we've developed a relationship with them. And so we have a real... You know what's interesting, Father? There are 750 buses running in Miami.
Wow. And how many signs are on the buses?
We have a sign on every bus that's running in Miami.
Whoa, that's every bus in Miami. Ladies and gentlemen, this is fantastic. Could you imagine women, men, walking the streets of Miami and seeing this over and over and over again? Boy, it sure does have to make an impression on them.
Oh, yes, Father.
Got to be, certainly it's the work of God, but, it really is saving lives. It's changing the culture. Ed, what you're doing is just fantastic. I want to ask you one other thing about the billboards. So you have them on the buses in Miami. Do you have them all over Florida? Are there other states that do this?
Oh yes, there are other states, Father. We have limited our focus. I have assisted a number of other states, to launch their own program. One in Connecticut, in Pittsburgh, Tennessee, Georgia, Daccarett. But our main focus, Father, you know what? We're not looking to conquer the world. We're looking to change lives here. Florida is number 4 in the United States for total abortions. Florida is, so we focus our attention here.
Could you imagine? And we have, thank God, right now, we have a pro-life governor, thank God. But how
Yes.
long does
Oh,
that
yeah.
last? We have to keep the battle going, folks. Don't sit down and say it's over. It's not
Right.
over. And we have to have
Right.
good judges, too.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I want our audience, I know we're going to be able to put this up on the screen, to be able to get your newsletter, your newspaper. And I also want our people to have an opportunity to see some of the fine, it's artwork on your posters and on your billboards, because you're making a difference.
Now, if someone would like to get additional information, we can refer them to our website, christianactionnews.com. Again, that's christianactionnews.com, or they can call. And our number is 772-219-1144. Again, that's 772-219-1144.
I usually close this program by saying, I'm for action, and I hope you are too. I'm going to be a little bit different today. You know what I'm going to say? Ed's for action, and I hope you are too. God bless you. Thank you.
Thanks, Father. God
Keep
bless
up the
you,
good
Father.
work. We would like to thank our generous sponsors for their wonderful support. Thanks for watching. Please join us next time for Action for Life. I'm for action, and I hope you are too. I'm Father Michael Orsi. I am your host for Action for Life Television, that good news program which talks about the gospel of Jesus Christ, the big G and the little g, all the good things that people are doing to put the gospel of life into action. So please join us for the next episode of Action for Life.